Today is October 3rd, which is Wide Awakes Day. Inspired by the 1860 Wide Awakes, we're taking a cue from the space of abolitionist dreamers and widening the lens. Our global and grand procession will celebrate joy and civic participation online and in cities across the world. And you can find out more and how to get involved at wideawakes.com. So Sara could not be with us this week, but she has a video talking about what happened last week and to kind of help us transition into topics today. We're going to play that now.
Marhaba, my fellow Wide Awakes. I'm sorry that I can't be there with you this week. I miss you, and I reflected a lot on our conversation from last week, and I felt very frustrated afterwards because I don't think it was a very constructive one, although it was an important one because, you know, we all had things that we felt strongly about, and we wanted to speak our truth. I think it's important to remember that the philosophy of the Wide Awakes is a space where we appreciate each other and where we come from, and that the goal really is to reimagine a better future for all of us, and it's not about egos or attacking each other. So I apologize if anyone felt attacked from me, especially Ben. That is not my intention, and I hope that we can keep the conversation going, especially when it gets challenging and hard, in a compassionate and generous way where we, you know, hold space for each other's fears and concerns and dreams. And yeah, I love you, and I hope that this week has been good for you, and then the conversation today is, you know, making change towards the future that we want to see.
We just need to do a little cleaning up before we dive into the main topic of today. And something that I do in my self-accountability practice is ask myself the questions: did I do anything against my values? And then following that, is there anything that I need to clean up? So in the vein of accountability and opening up space for everyone to reflect, I just wanted us to kind of discuss what happened last week. It got very intense with no kind of resolution, and it felt a little unproductive for me. So I wanted to hear from you, Baven, and from you, Ben, about last week.
I see an opportunity for myself to do a better job of listening, or to just work more, to stay more present with listening with the intention of understanding, or coming to a conversation with curiosity and trying to let my judgments go ahead of time, and being more aware of the state of being that I'm in as I enter a discussion, so that I can really be open to listen, even to things that might be difficult, that I feel are difficult, or I feel resistance to, like sitting with that discomfort and really trying to work through it so that I can give whoever is speaking or sharing their story with me all that I have, you know, in that moment, to really receive what they have to say.
If we all agreed, then it wouldn't be much of an experience. We've got to talk about where we disagree. So I'm not sorry it happened. I think we need to continue sharing our different points of view if we're ever going to hope to understand each other. So did it get contentious? Yeah, but that's the point, right? We're adults. We're here to understand each other's life experiences, like you say, Baben. You know, honestly, that was nothing compared to some of the chats that I have with my pop and, you know, with other members of my family. So I don't want to make too big a deal out of nothing.
On Wednesday, a video of Representative Sage Moore went viral with the hashtag Stop White Genocide that appeared to show her speaking to campaign donors about land back policies in a way that was very divisive and out of character, and played into a lot of fear-mongering narratives that have been spread by right-wing conservatives about minorities seeking revenge for past trauma, slavery, and oppression. The video made it past the deep fake filters, but Moore has stated that it's fake. There's an investigation commissioned by the Federal Election Commissions over the past few days, but it's already caused a significant amount of controversy and confusion, 9 days before the election. So we're going to play the video, and then Sada as well, and is going to respond in a video following Sage Moore's deepfake.
America has always operated as a system of colonization. Since its inception, it has dehumanized, enslaved, and forcibly removed us, indigenous peoples, from our ancestral lands to reservations. Then, when we finally have any land for ourselves, the laws white people continue to put in place make sure we can never truly obtain land sovereignty, ensuring we are dependent on the very things that contradict indigenous values and destroy the earth. The traumas inflicted on indigenous peoples become generational, just like our Black siblings. This country was built on sacred ancestral homelands of people who were massacred, and those who survived were forced to assimilate or die. This economy was built off violently forced slave labor, stolen land, and stolen resources. And that exploitation is the reason why white people have the advantage they do. They are not going to fight for a change when they benefit from it. Besides, we'll be better for it. I mean, just look at how settlers have destroyed this land. Just look at how they have wrecked the planet. Our planet's resources will go so much farther and do so much better for everyone involved if we just take it back. It's our turn now. We've got to take back the power in this country, and it's time for our white friends to get a taste of their own medicine. My fellow Americans, I reject the violent language of retribution and revenge as expressed in this deepfake. This isn't about revenge or retribution, which would only cause further divide in our nation. What we seek is justice and fairness for those of us left behind in the traumas of the past. Ours is a campaign of love and compassion, and technology has been used to twist that into one of hate. I am not running for president as means of revenge on the remaining symbols of colonialism. No. I am running to be president of the American people because I know and believe that we are the stewards of this land and this planet. My goal is to lead us into a positive future, and this issue goes far beyond the statements made in the deepfake. The erosion of trust in the media has undermined our democracy for too long. In the same way, oil companies continued to destroy our planet until there was legislation to stop them. As long as divisive content and disinformation is profitable for social media companies, they will continue to turn a blind eye to the damage it causes at the expense of our democracy. And as long as the left and the right keep fighting against one another and focus more on proving the other side wrong than fighting for what is right, a more perfect union is nothing but a myth. My fellow Americans, the only way we can all succeed is to focus on the shared values like freedom and justice, and form coalitions to build a future we all want to live in. Life is not a finite game where there are winners and losers, but an infinite game where our central objective is to keep playing the game together. I see more for our future.
Regarding candidate Moore's video that was released earlier this week, my initial reaction was that it's really out of character. After reading her book and attending her campaign and, conversing with her, I really don't think that her goal is to take revenge from white people. Although, while I was watching, I was also empathizing with what was being said, especially, after the trauma that was caused on indigenous people. I think that the anger is totally valid, but again, I don't think that the Moore's plan is, to cause harm or violence. Radical changes, implementing policies that would help and uplift people of all color, identity, and nationalities, which I think is the goal of Sage More, and it's important to keep that in mind.
We heard Sada's response to the video, and also we saw Moore's response. I want to hear from Baven and Ben. What have you been thinking about this?
Well, I mean, she was speaking to the truth of what a lot of people's, very real fears and hurts in this country. So yeah, it's radical, but I think it's what we need.
I'm sorry, you think it's what we need?
I do. It's divisive, I know, and like it's not, I don't know if it was the most like diplomatic way to discuss those things, but everything that she said is coming from a place of very real trauma that is centuries old at this point.
Oh, I get the trauma, but you're talking about stealing people's land.
Well, it was theirs to begin with. So that's part of the discussion. It's not about stealing land from somebody. It's about returning things to the way that they were, the way that they should be.
So y'all realize that, as far as I know, most native cultures to North America didn't believe in land ownership. They were borrowing the land. So when you acknowledge that tribes, this is the land of the Seminole, of the Cherokee, of the Iroquois, what have you, this is the land that they inhabited, and we don't know who inhabited it before them. They didn't even believe in land ownership. So that's first of all. Second of all, we don't live in that world anymore. We live in a world where there's property, and if you like it or not, that's the world we live in.
Yeah, that's the world that America that has been created for us here. I totally agree with you, Ben. I totally agree with you about ownership. Like the concept of owning land is ridiculous. And I feel like what Sage Moore is speaking to is the concept that people have come to this country and claimed the land and taken ownership over it to make as much money as possible. It's not about land ownership. It's about returning the land to people who will act as stewards of the land and who will work with the land so that we don't have problems hundreds of years down the line, multiple times in a row, like wheat rust.
Baven and Ben, if I may, we just have to remember that this video is fake. So it's intentionally supposed to be divisive and kind of create the conversations that we're having right now. So we need to recognize that it's intentionally manipulative and that there is an election in 9 days. So the timing of this, we must note.
So. Duly noted. I guess I'd put the question into you, Baven. Which video do you support? Because in the second one, she says, I denounce this video, that's violent, da, 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 da. So you say you think she's not saying it, but you say that you do support the ideas in the first video. So which video is up your alley? Which video will you be voting for in 9 days?
I believe that it's fake. I'm a little disappointed, honestly, because I think we need radical change. And I think she's speaking to something, like I said, that people feel but have not articulated, have not said. It's not a mainstream idea that people are talking about, at least widely, at least in politics, at least in our leadership. But this is about the bigger conversation of how do we move forward without acknowledging the wrongs of the past? And that's what we've been trying to do, is like pretend that it just didn't happen.
We have acknowledged the wrongs of the past. We talk about how, we've messed up, how slavery was wrong, and we need to move on. She talks about these white laws, this white country, but we're one of the most diverse countries in the world.
I appreciate that you feel like that slavery has been discussed and we can just like move on. But I'm telling you that I've experienced the effects of that personally in my life in a negative way. And I'm telling you that, no, we can't move on. We still need to talk about it because it's an issue that people face when they walk out of their door and mind their own business. It's something that is a part of your life all the time. And
I don't disagree that we
need to do more than talk about
it. I draw the line at radical change. We've worked on and we'll continue to work on creating equal footing for everybody. That's something that's going to be a project. I get very weary of people saying, this isn't fair. It's never going to be fair. It's impossible to make it fair. When people have tried to make it legally fair, you get communism. That's just a matter of fact. So it's never going to be fair. But we can do things we can put in regulations and legislation to make things more fair, but it doesn't have to be radical. You don't have to talk about stealing people's land.
I'm so sorry. I need us to take a minute. Baven, you brought up values, and I just want us to remind ourselves of the conversation we had at the top of this episode, which was that we are going to listen with the intent to understand and be more in a reflective space. So as we move forward, why don't we think about the fears that perhaps this conversation is rooted in on both sides, and also think about the values that we have set in this space.
Thank you.
I think we're trying to do that, but we're just having a disagreement.
I think, yeah, thank you for that, Michaela. I appreciate the reminders, because it's hard to, sometimes we stray, and I recognize that. So I really appreciate that.
When it comes down to it, it's just like, I'm trapped here. I'm responsible for slavery. I'm responsible for the climate issue. I'm responsible for the inequality in the United States. I mean, what?
Ben,
I want to call this an even-keeled conversation, but it certainly doesn't seem like one to me.
I think part of it, Ben, is that it feels like there's a lot of resistance around just acknowledging that the system that you were brought up in that allowed you to be successful is stacked against other people, that it is not fair. You even said that. You were like, it's not fair. It can't be fair. When we try to make it fair, then you get communism. This is a theme, a lack of acknowledgement, a lack of acknowledging the land, a lack of acknowledging the fact that statistically you have been more likely from the day you were born, because of who you are and what you look like, that you will be more successful than somebody else. And that is not right. That is not fair. And we can change that, but it takes radical change. That's what we're talking about here. It's not a personal attack on you and your family. I want to know more about you, but the resistance to even accept this idea, even when reparations are at 40% approval, I think, in this country right now, like, that's huge. People are starting to wake up to the fact that something is wrong fundamentally at its core. And what Sage Moore was talking about in that deepfake video is speaking to what millions of Americans have been feeling without saying it for a long, long time, for generations. It's not about you and your family specifically. It's about the whole structure. We need to change. It needs to change.
That's what I've tried to be here, but I don't feel like I've been heard here. I feel like I'm getting the blame for everything. Reparations is different from what Sage Moore was saying in that video. She was talking about theft. She was saying, we're going to take it back. And then you said that you agree with her, and you're saying you need radical ideas. I didn't even drop my opinion in on reparations. I'm not sure how I feel. I'm not saying I definitely am against it. I'm not saying I'm definitely for it, but that's different from what she was talking about. And it's different from saying that it's on me. I'm an example of the problem. I'm here. I'm trying to listen to y'all and be heard. And what I'm getting back is, no, you're the problem. So I honestly, I don't even understand what I'm doing.
Okay. All right. I guess Ben has decided to leave, which, is up to him. I would have liked to have, maybe had some sort of resolution to that conversation, kind of understanding where our values are, but he's welcome to his own feelings and entitled to how he feels. So once again, I feel a little bit like that wasn't productive towards the end. We were getting somewhere, and then I guess, anger.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah, geez. It makes me so angry, because I feel it's impossible to really have a constructive conversation about privilege. Like, I don't know how you can have a productive conversation when you don't see reality in the same way.
Yeah, I get that. And I think that what we were really trying to do with Ben, while he felt attacked, was we were trying to get him to recognize the privilege that just so blatantly exists. And he wasn't able to kind of be on his accountability side, open himself to transformation. He was kind of stuck in how he felt and took that as a personal attack.
I do believe that she's in the deepfake, she's speaking to something that a lot of people feel. I feel like it represents a spectrum of the hurt and the trauma of a people. And that's a lot. I've reflected on this a lot during this show specifically, and I'm just tired of trying to be angry in the right way. There's this narrative that you can't be angry like this, you can be angry like that. It's just, I don't think it's my job to sugarcoat something for somebody else.
I totally agree. I think we actually could have had a better conversation in which you weren't being policed on your anger, and neither was Ben, but you were both hearing each other from even playing fields. I hope that next week Ben comes back and we're able to discuss it and come to some sort of mutual understanding.
Hopefully this inspires conversations and for people to get engaged.
So that's a big thing about being a wide awake, is being engaged in these kinds of conversations. As I mentioned at the beginning, today is Wide Awakes Day, and hopefully you're celebrating out there Wide Awakes Day. And if you are, tag us in your posts so we can see them at Resilience 2032. And next week is going to be our episode before the election. But hopefully next week we'll have all four of us back and we can dive into what happened today and what the election could look like.